All right, how's everybody doing out there? Can you hear me okay? And you should be able to see my screen. So just let me know, a couple of you, if we're good to go on the technology aspects. Excellent. Hi, Jody. Okay, good. All right, excellent. All right, let me just go through the admin stuff here, and then we'll jump into what we want to talk about today. All right, so first thing, of course, I have to always talk to you about the risks involved in trading. I think we're pretty good on that, right? Everybody kind of got that down. Just make sure that you understand there is risk in trading and know how to control your risk the best you can. You'll never be able to control it 100%, but we certainly have some pretty good ways in which we try to do so. All right, also 2 books available for you. You can get them at Amazon, probably the best place. So if you're new here and you don't know much about TradersCoach.com or me, pick up one of the books and you'll learn quite a bit about what we're all about. I really suggest the one on money management is the one that you should start with. You know, with money management, to me, a great analogy, it's like a seatbelt in a car. You know, you want to put your seatbelt on first before you start to learn how to drive, right? Same thing with trading. So once you have the money management figured out, then you can go ahead and experiment with your trading, and all the while by having the risk control in place. All right, and also too, we use the ART system along with the OWL, PTF, and TLM, and scanners with, of course, risk control software as well. All right, so if you want to learn any more about that, just head on over to our website. It's all there. All right, so if you have questions, feel free to type them in, okay? Got TradeStation, got NinjaTrader. So let me know what's cooking and what you guys are all thinking and looking at these days. And if you have any questions per se on any specifics, let me know. All right. Anything on the scanners? I think I'll probably go over the scanners a little bit today. I'll go with the trade confirmer and then work my way through the turbo. How does that sound? Work on some of those there. All right, so I think one of the thing is, depending on whether you're using TradeStation or NinjaTrader, the scanners give you the same information. They just look a little different. And so if you notice here on the scanners, here this is on NinjaTrader, and more specifically, NinjaTrader uses something called the market analyzer for its scanner, whereas TradeStation uses a different animal called radar screen, and that's this up here at the top. And radar screen has a little bit different look to it than the market analyzer and vice versa. But basically the information it will give you is the same. Now notice on TradeStation's radar screen that you have certain things colored like the text, but the columns aren't colored. Whereas if we run over to NinjaTrader, you'll see the columns are colored and the text is not. And the reason for that is that different platforms have different characteristics, and you have to code around those characteristics. So the information is the same. So when you have a green column, that's the same thing as having green text in TradeStation's radar screen, okay? So when the text is green or the column is green, then that is bullish. When it's red, it's bearish. Now, if we take a more careful look at the trade confirmer, all right, the trade confirmer is 4 columns. And basically what it's doing is it's giving you one column called the trade confirmer itself, and then 3 additional columns, one called the OWL, PTF, and TLM. And so basically these correspond down to the charting software of the OWL, PTF, and TLM. So that's kind of what it's giving you. Now, what's the benefit of that? Well, if you don't want to have the charts open and you just want to have the scanner looking for the OWL, PTF, and TLM, then that's easy. You just run the scanner and there it is right in front of you. So for example, we know here that we have a bullish PTF for VOL, all right, these are the indexes. And, you know, you just go right down them and you can see, you know, kind of what you want to use, right? So that makes it very easy. Now, the thing that throws a lot of people off is the actual column called the trade confirmer. What is that? All right, well, the trade confirmer column, if you right click, is a representation of what we want it to scan for. So if we're looking for just the OWL and PTF, then we want to set the number of signal counts to 2. And we want to make those signal counts look for an OWL and PTF of the same color, whether it's bullish or bearish. And so that's what that column will do. So if you're looking for a PTF trade and you only want to take it when a specific, you know, OWL is taken or whatnot, well, you can do that, okay, by just looking at the trade confirmer column itself and looking for when things are in alignment. All right, so, you know, it's a very easy way to say, okay, I'm looking for a PTF trade, but I only want to take it if the OWL is the same color. Well, boom, you just come right down to here. You don't have to go and look at each individual one. You just go right here, okay? So that kind of makes it simple if that's the kind of scan you want to do. So that's the trade confirmer. And it really makes life a lot easier when you can do it that way. It's a great way to scan over the weekend, for example. You know, if you're looking at all the NASDAQ 100s and you're looking at the S&P 500s, it's a great way to quickly scan those markets for the same colored OWL and same colored PTF. And you can do that on both TradeStation as well as NinjaTrader, as well as multi-charts too, because they have a scanner built in there too. So that's basically that. And then the Elliott Wave is the next two columns over here. And what basically that's doing is it's looking for Elliott Waves 3 or 5. And when they're red, that means there's a bearish wave 3 in this column. And these are bearish wave 5s in that column. And so again, if you want to start connecting the scanners and say, okay, I want to look for a bullish trade, bullish PTF trade, but also be going in the direction of an Elliott Wave 3, well, then you can just look to see if it's an Elliott Wave 3 or not. If it's not, then you move on, okay? These are just a handful of stocks I have here. So this is just someone watching myself. This is not like 100 stocks or anything, but you can load these scanners up with as many stocks as you want. And then the turbo scanner, which is way over here on the far right, is basically scanning for the most recent art signals, bullish or bearish, and also bracketed markets and consecutive P pyramids. And there's a whole host of ways you can use that information to take a look at stocks as well. So for example, if you are kind of looking for bracketed markets to build your watch list because you know good trends come out of bracketed markets, well, then go ahead and you know, scan for bracketed markets, take a look at them, and keep them on a watch list. And when the market starts to break out, then you got it, okay? There's also a breakout signal on that as well. Also, too, if you have consecutive P pyramids, then you know you're getting near the end of that particular trend, so you may want to look at it for an opportunity in the opposite direction. Now, if you're looking for a PTF trade and you're also looking for an Elliott Wave trade and you want to look for a pyramid going in the right direction, then you just go ahead and look at all the different scans and don't bother with the ones until they are giving you the information you want. So if you want a bullish PTF trade, you want an OWL and a bullish PTF, you want to know if it's at least a, you know, an Elliott Wave 3 or 5, and you want to see if you have a confirmed pyramid. So you can do that without having to look at the individual chart until you get some form of confirmation alignment based on what you're looking for. And that's basically, and I got to tell you, it's amazing how many people use the scanners in slightly different ways. Okay, so it's kind of, you can have fun with it and kind of come up with a way in which it works best for you. and take it from there. All right, so any questions on that? I know we've talked about that before, but I think it's kind of always good to bring that information up. Now, one of the things I will say, Rebecca, did that help you? Okay. Okay, good. Also, Rebecca, there is also more information on that for you in the manual. And if you go to your documents folder, I think Mark probably put it in there, okay, for you. And you can take a look at the actual scanner manuals in there. That'll give you even more information in there, okay? But the other thing too is that, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, with the scanners. Now here's the thing. This is probably more for NinjaTrader users than for TradeStation users, but it certainly can apply to TradeStation. If you're going to scan for a lot of symbols, and you know, you could load the NASDAQ 100 in there, you could load the S&P 500, but now you're getting up to a lot of symbols, right? And so when you start Ninja for the first time and you're connecting to a data provider automatically, it's gotta go ahead and do the calculations for all those symbols as soon as you start Ninja. And that could take a few minutes. And depending on, you know, your system and, you know, how much memory it has and how old of a system it is, you know, it can take quite a few minutes. So you got to be patient with that if you're loading. Now, what I would say to do, here's what I do with this. One is for my data connections. All right, I have two running, my Kinetic and my NinjaTrader. Now this one does my futures, this one does my stocks. Now, I used to have it automatically connect to my NinjaTrader Continuum. But you know what, I don't do that anymore. I don't have it connect automatically to anything. And the reason for that is if you just start it without connecting, it starts really quick. As soon as you connect to a data provider, it has to start loading all those symbols and recalculating and la da 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 da. Okay, so you may want to turn that off and then connect them one at a time. All right, after it's, you know, after Ninja started, let it, you know, get the charts that previously were saved up there and all the symbols, and then connect to your data provider, and it will be a little quicker. Now, Ninja says do not connect to two data providers automatically at the same time. And what I mean by that is you can connect to one, but then you have to manually connect to the next one. And what I do again is I don't auto connect to any of them. I manually connect them after Ninja starts. So just food for thought. And notice I don't have the NASDAQ 100 up here running, but if I want to have it running, if I want to load it, I'll just come over here, hit that symbol. I have everything memorized in terms of a template, right? I'm sure that's the way Mark set pretty much everybody up there. Then you can go to here, add instruments, and go down here to the NASDAQ 100, select all, and now it can load. All right, but if you think about it, it's already loaded the other ones, right? So now all it's doing is loading the NASDAQ 100. So it won't take as much time as when you would first start your platform and it had to load this, that, and that, so to speak. So it's kind of good to do it sometimes in piecemeal little ways, okay? And as you can see, it's taken a little while here to load that, okay? But it'll load. So you just got to be a little patient sometimes, depending on, you know, how many symbols you're loading and whatnot. If you start clicking buttons before things have loaded, you can crash the system. So you kind of got to be careful with that. Anybody have any other experience with that or thoughts that they may want to add on that? TradeStation, you know, can have a similar situation with that as well. All right, so, you know, I would basically say what you want to do is when your system seems a little slower than it should be, then back off, okay? And then when you go to close before the end of the day, in other words, you're going to close Ninja or whatever, you may want to go ahead and X out the NASDAQ 100 so when you start Ninja fresh the next time, it doesn't have to load all those symbols, and then you can load those in at a later time if you want. Okay, that's what I found has worked easiest for me. So I'm just kind of passing that on in case you're finding that to be an issue at all. All right, let's see. Richard's saying, yes, I find it best not to touch the chart while it's loading. Yeah, exactly. And it can take some time to load, but I found the same thing. When you touch the chart, it sometimes makes it load even slower, or you confuse it, and then it gets all out of whack. Because if you think about it, there's just a lot of different types of calculations going on behind the scenes. And you know, if you have a lot of symbols, that's a lot for it to handle. All right, so that's fully loaded up here. Okay. Now the other thing, last thing to do is notice when I added that new tab, okay, it is not associated, it does not have a symbol lock with the same color as my chart. So don't forget, if you load a new tab, you also have to color code it so you can look at the stocks you want to, okay, when you click up there. Sometimes it's easy to forget that, and you start clicking around and that doesn't work, and it's because you don't have the symbol lock on. So make sure you have the symbol lock on for that. Now, so I just want to cover that because I think those are like very useful little tidbits that I wish somebody always told me when I first started using Ninja, you know, 15 years ago or so. And actually, the funny thing is that we were probably one of the top or the first 3 partners that Ninja had when they first started. And we got to know them at the inter-show trade shows, and they asked me to do the trading challenge using their platform. So that's how I first got to meet them. And then we programmed everything on there for the trading challenge and whatnot. And so that's kind of it. Now they have hundreds and hundreds of partners, but we were one of the first 3. I think we were either the second or the third, I can't remember, but somewhere along those guidelines. All right, the other thing that's kind of interesting, cryptos. Now, cryptos, you know, there's, I'm just gonna look at the GBTC. This is one where, you know, it got really close to its target range and then sold off, and has been selling off ever since, really. And it really hasn't turned around yet. It's still moving to the downside. So we kind of want to keep an eye. I mean, this kind of indicates that, you know, if this thing can stay green and we get a rebound, we may make one more high on crypto before it's all over. But if this changes to red down here, then all bets are off. So that's kind of like what, remember I was telling you, don't go long on this yet until things change on the daily chart. And as you can see, things are still bullish on this chart. And if you were long on the weekly, you'd be stopped out right by now. So, you know, this is kind of, you kind of don't want to go in now because you have a red PTF even on the 60-minute chart. So we'll see what happens with this, but I certainly am not ready to go into this again right now. How about real estate? Real estate has its own ETFs, kind of fun to look at. I used to be a landlord a long time ago. I used to own a real estate brokerage as well back in New York, and I also managed a lot of properties and had a lot of properties that I rented out. Boy, what an interesting business that is. I would have loved to have had ETFs instead. That's for sure. Lot less work. But in any case, the ETFs are kind of fun to have. There's an ETF for just about anything, all right, these days. But with the real estate situation is that it gives you a good way if you want to participate in real estate without having the actual real estate to some degree, all right? But there's certain advantages of having the actual hard asset, obviously. And they speculate if we have a reset or anything like that, then the hard assets are going to be the ones you want. But nonetheless, the ETFs can give us a clue as to when markets are softening in that particular industry and when they're still going good. All right, so that kind of is a good place to know. And if you Google the ETFs, you can find all the different ones, and there's lots of them. And there's inverse, like I've mentioned before, there are inverse REITs as well. All right, basically, if real estate goes up, these go down, and so forth. So the overall weekly chart on this inverse is still bearish, with a bearish here, even though we have maybe a temporary softening to the upside here. So, that means real estate prices will be going down because this is an inverse. So, but it looks like they should, head back down pretty soon again. So looks like the real estate market is still going up. And I think I was just did a webinar for our Yummy clients and basically was asking how the real estate market is doing across different parts of the country. And people are saying it's still strong in most parts of the country. So it certainly seems to be that way here in California. But, you also have Goldman Sachs coming out saying there's going to be 4 rate increases in 2022. So I can't believe that's going to help real estate. But, rates are still low, but we'll see what happens with that. But it's just incredible how much prices have gone up really in the last, I'd say 2 years. It's just been outrageous. Is anybody out there, because we got quite a few people here, anybody see any softening in real estate where you are in your neck of the woods? Is it pretty strong overall? Yeah, no softening whatsoever. And Rebecca, where are you from? You're in Colorado. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Really is something. Florida is unaffordable. That's what Jody says, strong in DC. That is the problem. I mean, if you want to sell and take your profits, where are you going to go? You still have to live someplace. So then you're kind of like rebuying, and you're still rebuying at high prices. So unless you're scaled down and you have enough cash on your sale to buy all cash on the next house, kind of a tough thing, because don't forget you got to pay taxes too. Now, if you have a lot of debt, then that may be not a bad idea to sell out, get rid of the debt, and take a little cash out then, and then do it that way, if that can lower your debt. But if inflation keeps going up, the hard assets are going to go up, continue to go up. And they think inflation is going to continue to go. It's kind of crazy. Jeff says he can't click my mouse and get out of actual real estate. Wouldn't that be nice if you could do that and be that quick, right? Not have to pay all the capital gains taxes. But it's kind of fun to know that these exist because, you know, if you are kind of want to see when things start to soften or things change, the REITs are not a bad place in a specific industry that you may be watching to do that. And, you know, this is kind of a good thing that we have today that we really didn't have like 20 years ago. Now, the other thing too, and I haven't done much on this, is the smalls. Does anybody trade the smalls? I don't think Ninja has data yet for the smalls, but there are some brokerages out there that do that. Anybody have any experience with that? The smalls are basically, you know, futures type of situations based on a pool of indexes. It's an interesting idea, but I don't know if it's really mainstream yet. All right, well, anything else? All right, so we got Wednesday Night Live tonight. All right, so that's coming up later. And I think we're going to be doing it on targets, I think, how to choose targets. So when you have a trade, how do you figure out where the target is, you know, that type of thing. Yeah, the ES and the S&P and the Dow are all in an Elliott Wave 5 on the daily chart, So that the high on that, we're sitting right in the target zone, but it could go a little higher or it could sell off at any time. So you kind of got to be, make sure you have stops in place if you're trading those markets or all markets right now. You know, we've been in the target range, which for the Dow has been what, between 32,000 and 37,025 for, you know, almost a year. So, you know, it could sell off at any moment, or it could just meander along, okay? So there you are. Well, there's no reason yet really to get out of that. So you know, just have your stop in place, okay, for the VIX. And give it a little leeway because, you know, there's been a lot of volatility on that. You know, a lot of times, the problem is, you know, when you're in these target ranges, the market's been bouncing around quite a bit. And if your stop's too close, you get taken out and then it could pop back up and that could have been your profit. So yet at the same time, you don't want your stop so far away that, you know, you have a really large loss by the time you get stopped out. So, you know, it's a combination of choosing your stop carefully, your trade size carefully, so your losses are, you know, within tolerance, and also too, you're giving the market enough breathing room during these periods when it's in the target in case it pops up once again. Because, you know, price is always right. And, you know, if you look at the actual markets, you know, the price situation, let me just load the VIX here, but the price situation here is, you know, the volatility is pretty good. Now you have a green PTF here. Now it hasn't changed over. It's still REK. Is this the one you're in? call spreads. Okay, you're in call spreads. Okay, fine. So, all right, so there, there's that. But let me just go back up here. If you go to the S&P 500 here, you can see this meandering. And if you have your stops too close, you're going to get wiggled out all the time. So best to, keep your stops at these major support levels and do it that way, okay? All right, cool. All right, well, that's all I got for today. Looks like I don't see any specific questions on the platforms or anything like that. So I assume everybody's good. All right, my pleasure. Deborah, how are you? Nice to have you here. Rebecca, thank you. All right, my pleasure. Okay, absolutely my pleasure too. Okay, anyway, you guys are a great group. All right, everybody's super. I really enjoy working with each and every one of you. Super. Art, thank you so much. Good to have you here. All right, so have a good week. All right, and we'll see you back here. We'll be back next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel, so to speak, right? And I did record this, and the recordings on these we're putting up in the our YouTube channel. So definitely check there. We put them into Vimeo, but Vimeo in the collections pages, they have this bug where you have to refresh it every time to see a video, and it's kind of a pain. So I started posting all these on our YouTube channel, and it seems to be fine in there. Okay, so that's where this will be, and I'll get that up by this afternoon. All right, awesome. Jody, thank you. All right, have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye now.